We have been in production with our new greenhouse here for a couple weeks now, a few weeks actually, and I just wanted to give you guys an update on some of the lessons I've learned so far from producing greens in a semi-heated greenhouse. Touched on some of the mechanics of it in the last vlog. Today I'm going to talk about some of the things I've learned. In the greenhouse here, I just want to show you guys. So we've harvested almost half of this greenhouse so far. And when we started, the yields were less because the greens were smaller, but we needed to get into production, so we started to cut them. So what's happening over time is they're still growing, right? So we're still, they're growing, obviously not nearly as fast as they would grow in the summer or the spring or even the fall, but they are growing because it is warm in here. Like it's, you know, it's a cloudy, cold day outside. It's just above freezing, but in here, it's about 45 degrees Fahrenheit, about 7 degrees Celsius. So it's not, you know, warm, but it's warm enough that things will grow. And so one thing I've learned so far this year, and this has been kind of reiteration on things that I've even written about in my book or I've learned in the past, but is that you don't really have any surprises as far as pleasant surprises in production. So sometimes when you're growing greens in the summertime, you'll get 1 or 2 days, or let's even in the springtime, you'll get 1 or 2 days that are really nice weather, and that just bumps everything ahead, and you're all of a sudden you're going, wow, I'm gonna have way more than I thought. In the wintertime, because the days are so much shorter, like we're less than 8 hours of daylight now here, we just don't get that. In order to get some kind of bump in production where I would have all of a sudden more than I anticipated, it would require at least 7 days of sunshine, of really good weather for me to come in here and go, wow, that really jumped ahead. And so that isn't happening. The challenge that we have here in the Okanagan Valley is we have gray weather. Like it has been rainy since the beginning of October. You guys know, you guys followed me when I was building this thing and I was constantly battling with the weather to get it done. And that's the challenge here. And this was my whole reason for wanting to put this heater in to begin with, is I wanted to supplement some heat for the amount of lack of light we have. So a few people have mentioned in the comments, and I'll address it here, but guys like Elliot Coleman or even J.M. Fortier, who live on the sort of eastern seaboard, they have a very different type of climate. Yes, they're colder in the winter, but they do get more sunlight. So even if you're operating an unheated polytunnel, you will have really warm days in your greenhouse when the sun comes up or when it comes out. So, but we have clouds. We don't get that type of solar gain here. So, but you know, but it's mild outside. You know, it's just around freezing, and it's kind of really cold rain right now. But so we have to try to supplement in a different way, and that's the challenge for us here. And today I had to cancel an order that I was hoping to do, which was a big order, because I'm looking at what I have and I'm going, you know, I've got 4 50-foot beds of greens here, and based on what we're selling, if I do this really big order that wasn't a regular order, it was sort of an irregular one, for a customer who only buys at certain times of the year, I was really going to dent this production that it would affect my other consistent customers that buy twice a week. You know, this is what we're learning, is that we just don't have bumps in production. And so when you're looking at a greenhouse full of greens, in my context or in a winter farming context, what you see is what you get. And in the sense that I expect to get from these beds here, looking at them right now, I'm expecting at least 45 to 50 pounds each, because they're a lot more sized up than when we cut these. And so that's where the challenge was at the beginning, is we were harvesting these first ones a little bit more premature than I would have liked them all to be at that size. And that's the thing with winter production, is when you plant stuff out in the late fall or early fall, whenever it is you're going to set your crops, what you plant is what you're going to get. And so I'm looking at these beds and I'm looking at recovery. These ones here I think are 2.5 weeks of recovery. You can see a little bit closer there. This one was harvested a week ago, and this one here was just harvested today. So very little difference between them, and that's because they're growing slow. So I have to anticipate my production based on what I can see, forgetting the fact that I might get a second cut. I know in this case, because this greenhouse is somewhat heated, that I am going to get a second and third cut from these greens, but the recovery is going to take a lot longer. In the summertime, I cut a bed of Salanova lettuce like this, and in 10 days, I can cut it again. At this point, and the days are only getting shorter from here, and they're getting colder, at this point, it might be 3 weeks until I can get another cut off this bed. I mean, that is yet to be seen. We'll see. This whole thing with the heat in this greenhouse has been a bit of an experiment. But I just thought I'd share that with you guys because, you know, I'm still learning at this. I'm still figuring this out. This greenhouse has been an experiment. The whole thing, I mean, I'll show you what I just did here today is I have put in some temporary posts in here to give some strength and rigidity to the top beam. Because this greenhouse is kind of flat, like I'll take you outside and just show you. It's raining a little bit, but because it's kind of flat, you can see up there, it still has a bit of a peak to it, barely any though. The risk is that if I get a heavy dumping of snow and that snow doesn't melt on contact, there's going to be a lot of weight up there. And the thing that makes me hopeful with this design is that because I have the blower with the 2 layers running and that's blowing in warm air from inside the greenhouse, my prediction is that the snow will melt on contact, because that's exactly what's happened all last winter with this nursery. Having said that, this one is a lot warmer. This one is consistently 25 degrees Celsius, and that snow, even if it's minus 20 Celsius out here, the snow does melt on contact here. So this one isn't an issue, but it also has a lot more rigidity. Whereas this one, you know, it just isn't quite as strong. And so I'm heading down to Memphis on Sunday to teach a workshop, and I'm thinking, you know, I looked at the forecast and it says it's gonna get cold. We're gonna get down to minus 8 Celsius and we're gonna get some snow. So I figured for peace of mind, so I don't have to worry about when I'm gone that I show up and this greenhouse is collapsed. Let's just play it safe, put in some beams here. They're just on a brick, and I've bolted them into the middle truss here to keep it steady, and then I put a piece of metal strapping above just on, and then screwed it into the 2x4 just to keep them there. Like, it's not permanent, you know, it's just there as a fail-safe in case this thing collapses, which God hope that it doesn't. So another thing that is developing right now, and I've had a number of people ask me, why did I put an electric heater in this greenhouse? And well, there's 2 reasons for that. The one is that electrical energy is relatively cheap for us in British Columbia. I mean, especially when you compare it to California or some other heavy consumer states. Electricity is relatively cheap here, but I am planning to put my house on solar. I've got a friend of mine who I will probably do a video with about this sometime soon. I'm just kind of waiting for a quote from him, but the plan is to put an 18 kilowatt system on my house. So I'll keep you guys in the loop with how that develops. I'm pretty excited, and with this system I will basically be able to produce enough energy on my roof, even on cloudy days like this, to cover my whole consumption of my property. Because I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm certainly consuming more energy on my farm now with this heater in here, 6,000 watt heater, as well as in the nursery, as well as some of the other things that I'm running. I'm definitely burning through more energy. Right now, I forget what the exact kilowatt number was, but I'm consuming double the average household. And so from a cost standpoint, the risk there for me is that the way they set out our energy bills is that once you go past a certain amount of kilowatt usage, you go into another tier and then you start paying 25% more of a rate. So it's getting to the point where, you know, I might be spending a few $100s a month to run all this power, which really isn't that much when you look at what we're producing. But I'm gonna go into another tier that might turn it into $450 a month. So looking at the numbers, the solar is actually economical, and PV panels today are cheaper than they've ever been. And so I'm looking at those numbers and saying, you know what? if I can be net zero, then I'm gonna go for it. So I'll keep you guys updated with that. This might happen before the new year. I'm kind of thinking if the price looks good, I can write it off too. It's a business expense for me. I might just go for it. So anyways, that's what's happening today. Thought I'd give you guys an update. If you want to see more stuff like this, please hit the subscribe button right now. Like and share these videos with your friends. And check out my website, theurbanfarmer.co, where you've got links to a bunch of workshops I'm teaching coming up very soon. Memphis this weekend, going to be in New Zealand, going to be back and down in Boston, teaching workshops on my farm. All that stuff's up there. Check it out. Talk to you later.